You and your wife can sit on the floor, right? Said Manager Mike with a mean smile. Today is the company's 30th anniversary party. I can't believe he'd say such a thing on such a big day. And it's his first time meeting my wife, Patricia. Normally, you'd think he'd be more considerate. As I fumed silently, Sarah, the CEO's daughter, did something even more surprising. She brought a flattened cardboard box from somewhere and said to us, "Use this cardboard." Dust flew up as the cardboard hit the floor with a thud. "Shall we go?" I said to Patricia. "Yes," she replied, her voice trembling a little. As we, hurt and embarrassed, were about to leave the venue. My name is James Moore, 40 years old. I live a simple but happy life with my wife, Patricia, who is the same age, and our middle school daughter, Jennifer. Patricia and I got married when we were both 25, but our relationship goes back to high school. Back then, we were just friends. But over time, through many twists and turns, we gradually became closer and acknowledged each other as partners. With such a long relationship, we are not only husband and wife, but also best friends who can talk about anything. When we were younger, we often argued, saying whatever was on our minds. However, the quarrels between us were like brief rain showers. Just like the saying, "After the rain, the ground hardens." After a while, our anger would naturally dry up and disappear, leaving only our feelings for each other. It felt like we understood each other better after each fight. Since Jennifer was born, the number of arguments has significantly decreased. I believe the saying, "A child cements a couple together," is true. It's not that we consciously decided to argue less for Jennifer's sake. We just naturally stopped getting annoyed with each other. I hope to continue living happily with the three of us. With that feeling in my heart, I go back and forth between work and home every day. Today, I arrived at work, swaying in the crowded train as usual. The rush hour commute is a daily ordeal, but thinking about working for my family makes it bearable. Surely everyone on this train is working hard for something. Thinking that way, even the harsh conditions of a packed train feel more meaningful. And when I arrive at the office, a lot of miscellaneous tasks are waiting for me. While I'm blessed with a wonderful family, I actually have some problems at work. This company, with its 2,000 employees, is a large and successful company that has continued to grow since its founding 30 years ago. I joined this company about a year ago. Before that, I worked at a small family-run business, but it went bankrupt due to poor management. These days, with the economy being so unpredictable, small companies are going under one after another, so suddenly becoming unemployed isn't unusual. But I never thought it would happen to me. At that time, the first thing I thought about was my family. When I lost my job, Patricia said she would take on several part-time jobs to support us until I could find new employment. I was grateful for that, but finding a new job at almost 40, having only worked in small companies, was not easy. I even thought it might be better for Patricia to take Jennifer and go back to her parents' house. Patricia's parents are wealthy and well-off. I thought that divorcing me would make them happier. However, when Patricia found out about my thoughts, she got angrier than ever before. "Don't decide our happiness on your own." I was shocked by her unexpected anger. But in the next moment, she returned to her gentle expression. "We are a family of three. We are happy because we are three. If you are in trouble, I will support you no matter what, so please don't talk about separating again." Patricia's gentle face looked a little sad. I felt deeply ashamed for making her sad and started looking for a new job. Around that time, Williams, the president of the company I work for now, reached out to me. He had been my late father's best friend since college, and even after my father passed away, he continued to look out for me. When he heard that the company I worked for had gone bankrupt, he invited me to join his company. For me, it was an opportunity to find a new job and work for a large company. which was more than I could have hoped for, so I immediately accepted his offer. And that's how I ended up here. But working at a big company has its own challenges. Unlike me, who started working right after high school to support my family after losing my father, everyone here is well educated. They are also very proud and have a stoic nature, living for their work. Among them, Manager Mike, an elite in his early 30s who runs the department, is particularly harsh on me because I lack academic credentials and only assigns me miscellaneous tasks. I don't know how a low-educated, middle-aged guy like you got into this company, but don't get in our way. I was told this on my first day. Since my hiring by the president was a secret, I quietly replied, "Understood." I felt a bit frustrated, but that was just a trivial pride. I decided to work hard for my family. However, Manager Mike's treatment of me got worse by the day. No matter what I did, he complained and called me high school graduate instead of my name. "Hey, high school graduate, copy these documents for everyone before I get back from lunch. Oh, and make coffee when I return. Hot coffee." "Yes, sir, Mr. Mike," I replied. Even this response was on Manager Mike's orders. I wasn't allowed to answer in my own words. At first, it was embarrassing and unpleasant, but I got used to it after saying it so many times. Eventually, I could naturally call Manager Mike Mr. Mike like a butler. Familiarity is terrifying, but also a survival skill. No matter how bad things were at work, seeing Patricia and Jennifer's faces at home made everything okay. Eventually, I began to see even the manager's harassment as something I endured for my family. Just when I was getting used to Manager Mike, a new person appeared before me. It was the president's daughter, Sarah. Apparently, she was dating Manager Mike and started showing up at our department frequently. And even Sarah, the president's daughter, started calling me high school grad whenever she saw me. Being called that by a woman barely in her 30s and the youngest daughter of the president was mentally exhausting. But she held a higher position than Manager Mike. Of course, I couldn't say I didn't like it, so I smiled and responded every time she called me high school grad. And in my heart, I kept thinking it was all for my family. No matter how bad I felt, I would laugh it off for my family. We're getting married. We were going to announce it at the upcoming company party, but I'm telling you now, so do something to celebrate us. Manager Mike said this to me. Then Sarah laughed and interjected. No, don't make high school grad celebrate us. It's too sad. Celebrating someone means you have to be happy yourself, and he's definitely not happy. You can tell just by looking at him. Without thinking, I replied. That's not true. I have a loving family, and I'm very happy. For some reason, I shouted desperately. Seeing me like that, they both looked at each other and burst out laughing. What are you saying with that about to cry face? It's not that you love your family, but that you have to convince yourself you love them to get through this. You laugh off being mocked at work every day for them. Hearing Manager Mike's words, I felt my heartbeat quicken. If your beloved family saw how you are at work, what would they say? If it were me, I'd think it was pathetic. I'd leave an unreliable husband quickly and find someone else. With that, Sarah took Manager Mike's arm. They walked away, mocking me with their shoulders pressed together. My heart was shattered by their words, but I still pictured Patricia and Jennifer in my mind. Usually, I'd rush home to see their faces, but that day my steps were heavy. I took a deep breath at the front door to hide my feelings from my family before going in. Welcome home, Jennifer said, running over with a smile. But the moment she saw my face, she exclaimed in surprise. Daddy, you're smiling a lot. Did something fun happen? Despite her words, Jennifer looked a bit worried. Apparently, in my effort to hide my feelings, I had forced an unnatural smile. Naturally, Patricia noticed too and asked seriously, did something happen at work? I wanted to reassure them and say, it's okay, it's nothing. What's wrong, Daddy? Are you okay? Jennifer asked, looking surprised at my face. Patricia looked at me with the same surprised expression. When the two in front of me started to blur, I realized that I was crying. Patricia gave me a gentle smile. Can you tell me what happened at work? I'm on your side, James. Trust me. Okay. With her encouragement, I told her everything that had happened with manager Mike and Sarah. Patricia listened silently and finally said, Thank you for telling me. After talking to her, I felt so much better and could smile naturally again. Great, you're back to your usual self, Daddy, Jennifer said happily, and I apologized. Sorry for making you worry. You don't need to apologize. Worrying isn't a bad thing. It's a sign that someone is trying their best. But don't worry too much. You have to take it easy sometimes too. I was amazed at my daughter's words. When did Jennifer become mature enough to say such things? Thanks to my wife and daughter, I was able to recognize my hardships and went to work the next day with a clear mind. High school grad, take out the trash. The bin is full. It may not matter to you, the errand boy, but I'm busy preparing for the company's anniversary party. Don't make me deal with this. I smiled and responded to the manager's words. Understood, Manager Mike, but my name is James, not high school grad. Manager Mike glared at me for a moment, but then left the office. Probably because he was really busy with the party preparations. Feeling refreshed after speaking my mind, I thought of Patricia and Jennifer. Yes, it's because of them that I can be strong. From now on, I won't feel like I'm sacrificing myself for my family. Doing my job with pride is the best thing I can do for them. And the anniversary party does concern me. The president personally invited me. He even invited Patricia. James is like a son to me. I'm grateful to Patricia for supporting you as your wife. The party will be grand as a token of appreciation, so I hope you both enjoy it. The president had helped arrange our marriage, mediating between our families. By the time I got married, my father had already passed away, and after graduating high school, I immediately started working to help my frail mother. Patricia's parents were worried about her marrying someone like me. From a parent's perspective, not wanting their daughter, who they had raised without any hardships, to suffer was natural. I was ready to accept it if her parents disapproved. However, Patricia insisted that she would never break up with me, which strained her relationship with her parents. They argued about our marriage every day. Feeling responsible but unable to do anything, I was grateful when the president stepped in to help. James is like a son to me. I want him to be happy for a long time. I can vouch for his character, please. Allow him to marry Patricia. The president visited Patricia's home and persuaded her parents directly. Coming from a well-known, respectable family that even produced famous politicians, his words carried significant weight. Patricia's parents not only accepted our marriage, but also paid for the wedding. While Patricia disliked their sudden change of heart, I was simply happy that they approved of our marriage. You're the nicest person in the world. That's a good thing, but there are times when you need to stand up for yourself, Patricia said. I replied, You should be more grateful to your parents. They won't be around forever. We should avoid conflicts as much as possible. Seeing us exchange our thoughts like this, the president smiled warmly and said, You two really get along well. I'm glad I helped. We looked at each other and felt a bit embarrassed. Anyway, I owe the president a great deal. The day of the company's 30th anniversary party finally arrived. Since Jennifer is still in middle school, we decided to leave her with Patricia's parents and head to the venue ourselves. Thinking about it, it's been a while since we went out, just the two of us. When we arrived at the party venue, Patricia seemed a bit nervous in the celebratory atmosphere. However, she came from a good family, so it's not her first time in such a place. I felt more out of place than she did. There was something else on my mind. Sure enough, as soon as manager Mike and Sarah saw us, they came over with changed expressions. Why is a high school grad like you Hired mid-career, invited to an event like this. Is it a mistake by HR? Yeah, it must be some mistake. It doesn't make sense. I bet there aren't even seats for you. Manager Mike looked at me with a malicious grin. You and your wife can sit on the floor, right? I couldn't believe he'd say such a thing on such a big day. And it's Patricia's first time meeting him. Normally, you'd think he'd be more considerate. As I fumed silently, Sarah did something even more surprising. She brought a flattened cardboard box from somewhere and said to us, "Use this cardboard." The cardboard hit the floor with a thud, kicking up dust, making me cough. Sarah laughed, pointing at me. I had intended to overlook it since she was the president's daughter, but this was too much. Even if she didn't know about my relationship with the president, it was still too cruel. Patricia silently watched the whole exchange with a smile, but then she spoke up. Knowing her strong will and aware of Manager Mike's actions, I feared she might say something back. However, Patricia kept a calm expression and smiled gracefully. Sorry for the late introduction. I've heard my husband is always in Manager Mike's care. Manager Mike gave Patricia a spiteful look. Care is an overstatement. I'm sorry to say he's only been doing menial tasks every day. But rest assured, he's paid quite well for a gopher. So don't worry, Mom. Sarah laughed at his words. High school grad here and is being mocked every day for the sake of his beloved family. It's a tearjerker, isn't it? Still, how did you have the nerve to come to a place like this? Don't you feel out of place? To say such merciless things to Patricia. I glanced at Patricia's face, wondering how she felt. Her profile was dignified, showing her good upbringing. At first glance, it seemed the heartless words didn't affect her at all. But I noticed her lips trembling slightly. I couldn't tell if it was from anger or sadness, but I had never seen her like this before. I put my hand on Patricia's back and said, "Shall we go?" As if she had been waiting for those words, she turned to me with eyes that looked ready to cry and said, "Yes." She was probably holding back her feelings for my sake in front of everyone. The best thing I could do was to take her away from this place quickly. As I held her shoulder and we walked out of the venue together, we were stopped. Manager Mike, now pale-faced and far from his earliest smugness, had chased after us. "Wait, please come back. The president wants to see you. If I let you leave, I'll get fired. Who are you, anyway? What's your relationship with the president?" Patricia was the first to speak to the breathless manager. "It seems you finally understand what you've done. I discussed this with the president. But we're leaving now. If we go, you'll be fired, right? That means James won't be tormented anymore." Patricia said, taking my arm and urging me, "Let's go." She seemed eager to leave as quickly as possible. I nodded in agreement, yes. "No, wait. Please don't leave. I'm sorry for everything. It was just a joke. I didn't think you'd take it seriously." Patricia turned around furiously. I nearly stumbled as she abruptly pulled away. "If you're truly sorry, don't make excuses." Her sharp voice echoed. She was genuinely angry, her face contorted with rage, and Manager Mike looked terrified. I hadn't seen Patricia this angry since her parents opposed our marriage. I couldn't calm her down when she was this upset. Just then, the president appeared with Sarah. "Patricia is right. You both should apologize properly." "Sarah, you apologize too. As a parent, I'm deeply ashamed. It seems I've spoiled her too much because she's my youngest daughter." With the president's intervention, Patricia's anger subsided, and the rage on her face quickly disappeared. I was relieved, thinking the president handled it well. "It seems you've been disrespectful to him even at the company. He's a kind person, so it hadn't come to light until now, but an ordinary person would have sued you. Anyone who can't respect others has no place in my company." Upon hearing this, Manager Mike hung his head in defeat. Afterward, he was demoted to a regular employee, and his engagement to Sarah was called off. This was because Sarah moved far away to live with her mother's family. The president had divorced his wife. It was said that their marriage had been cold for a long time, and they had stopped even greeting each other at home. The final straw was when his wife had an affair with a man in accounting and embezzled company money. To set an example, he divorced her and sent her back to her family. The president told me sadly, "I said all those grand things to you, but I couldn't even manage my own family. Compared to that, you and your family look truly happy. Your father was a really good man." He was referring to my father. The president and my father had pledged to run the company together. They had met in college. One was the son of a political family, the other the son of a farmer from the countryside. Despite their different backgrounds, they became best friends. For the president, who had been in a highly competitive environment since elementary school, my father, who didn't judge people by their titles, was his first true friend. The two promised to start a business together after graduating college. However, while working for a company and preparing to start their own, my father fell ill. He passed away without fulfilling his promise to the president, leaving my mother and me behind. The president had always felt guilty for taking my father away from us. He often helped us as a way to atone for that. But I had never blamed him. I knew my father trusted him until the end. On his deathbed, my father regretted not being able to keep his promise to the president. When I told the president this, he teared up and apologized, saying, "I'm truly sorry." "Please don't apologize. You said, I'm like a son to you. I think of you as a father. From now on, please rely on me too." The president then smiled warmly and thanked me. That smile reminded me of my father. Several months had passed since the president's divorce, even though his relationship with his wife had been cold for a long time. I heard that divorcing later in life is emotionally and physically tough, because now he has to do everything his wife used to do. Fortunately, the president's sister and her husband live nearby and check on him occasionally, but I was still concerned. So, after discussing it with Patricia, we decided to visit the president regularly as a family. As we spent time there, having barbecues in the yard, Jennifer started bringing her friends, and soon company employees and neighbors began to gather as well. Eventually, the president's house became a social hub on weekends. I began to truly understand the joy of family. I had always enjoyed being with Patricia and Jennifer, but expanding our relationships with others made me see a bright future. I was sure my late father was happy too. When I looked up at the blue sky, I felt as if he was smiling down on us from heaven, seeing our happiness